and it's all you.
Zach, thank you very much for setting this up and for all the caveats about the technical difficulties we're having. Hopefully this will go smoothly. I think so. Zach just gave you a little bit of the background that I was going to give you, but a little more in depth there. Hoyt got a bachelor's degree in turfgrass science, worked in the golf business for about a decade. Was never really happy with the pay of the golf course industry, and started a lawn care company when I was much younger, and built that to a pretty sustainable company. Decided to move to where I was and get down to the beach, and got rid of that one, went back into golf for a while, realized that I still didn't like the pay, and built Charlotte Turf Company, moved back up to Charlotte around the family, and built that company. Originally, I looked at that as, I have a turf degree. I'm going to grow. I'm going to have better looking properties than everybody else, and that's how I'm going to grow this business. And that was really what I did. Years later, just a fantastic opportunity for my wife took us to Nashville, and I sold that business. I was very proud of that I could build something that somebody else would want and value. Once we got to Nashville, I became a distributor rep, and was dealing with golf, sports turf, LCO, retail, nursery, everything under the sun I called on. But the 75% probably of what I was doing was dealing with LCOs. And as I built rapport with these guys, and I took the approach that I wanted to help them grow with some of the stuff that I knew about, the agronomics, what they're applying, and as time went on, people begin to trust you and open up books to you and kind of tell you what you're doing, and as the person selling them their products, you know what they're putting out there. You can see the growth, when they go from 4 pallets on round 1, and next year it's 6 pallets on round 1. And it wasn't until then that I really realized that I didn't have any idea what I was doing running a business. You have that many people, that many different ways to do it. You really see the things you were doing wrong, the things you were doing right, pretty clearly. And hopefully I can impart some of what I learned to you guys and gals. We'll see how this goes. So here we go. Basic tenets that I look at: expanding customer base, reduce customer loss, increase services, decrease cost, increase effectiveness and efficiency, reduce labor, increase margins and acquisition. Now, I don't think anybody that's running a business, I don't think any of these bullet points are new ideas to you. Hopefully we can go through some of these and kind of break out how you can do some of these better. What are some of the pitfalls? Obviously, expanding a customer base is how you grow a business. What most people don't realize is that the vast majority of service companies in the green industry, whether it's lawn care or tree care or what, the vast majority of companies that declare bankruptcy do not declare bankruptcy for lack of work. The vast majority declare bankruptcy because they pick up too much work too fast for too little profit. So we can talk a little bit about that. Reducing customer loss. There's parameters on things you need to do to retain customers, and sometimes you need to lose a customer, but maybe not. Maybe you don't have to. So we'll touch on some of that. Increasing services. Once you have that customer base, just about the easiest way to make more money is to increase services to the customers you already have. I saw a pesticide company, a pest control company, build up a 3,000 person customer base, and they started a turf care division after that. And the day that they started, they had 500 turf customers. So always think about increasing services. Decrease costs, and we can all say, well, let's use a cheaper product. That's how you decrease cost. That doesn't always work. So hopefully I'm going to be able to tie some of these things together to see how some of these affect other things. So we'll just move on along. So expanding your customer base. The marketing of your company, how are you getting that done, right? There's door-to-door, word of mouth, door hangers, mailers, social media, radio, local periodicals, purchased email lists. All of these can be effective. Some may be better than others. In some demographics, some of these are better than others. I know a company that spent a lot of money on local periodicals. One of the Clipper magazines that offer coupon books basically, and he didn't do enough research and didn't realize exactly the zip code that he was mailing to, and he was a very high-end plant healthcare company and wound up spending a couple grand sending these mailers to a very low-end area of town. He basically picked up no business from it. So, each one of these things has its, its pitfalls and its benefits. I don't know too many. I know some of the big guys are still doing door-to-door, and I banged on doors myself when I owned Charlotte Turf, and that can be a great way to pick up business if you're personable and if you know what you're talking about. I relied tremendously on word of mouth. You get into a nice neighborhood and make that yard look better, and it's all about keeping up with the Joneses. So when I was focusing on where I wanted to grow, that was certainly one of the things I looked at, right? Which neighborhood do I want to be in where people are going to see it? I gave a free service to a customer on the corner of the entrance to a neighborhood that's on one of the most exclusive golf courses in Charlotte. And I knocked on his door and I said, hey, I want to treat your yard for free, and I'm going to just put my sign in every time I do a treatment. And I grew to about 100 yards in that area. So word of mouth and keeping up with the Joneses, that's it can work. I have seen it. Some of the considerations: local market. Again, where are you spending your marketing dollars? If you don't understand the area that you're trying to grow in, it's going to be a lot harder to grow. I want to talk about cost per lead a little bit. If you Google this, you'll find a whole bunch of different industry standards for cost per lead, and it's kind of difficult to pin down exactly what that number is. But I think probably something like in the turf market, about $125. That number comes up a lot. So if it's going to cost $125 to get a customer, and then you're going to charge, maybe it's $700 a year, right? So that's worth it, right? But cost per lead, as you're going through all your marketing, that's a number that you really, really have to keep track of, because that tells you if your marketing is working, if it's not working, what's the most effective. Because the lower we can get that cost, obviously, the more money we're making. Area demographics. I don't know if anybody has ever seen the website citydata.com. You can basically put in any zip code in America, or just city name, and it will tell you everything about it. I mean, just about any stat that you could want is on there. I use that in the very beginning of my company. Went on, I was looking for medium income, right? Because I don't want to spend a bunch of money on marketing to a part of town that doesn't have any money, right? I was a higher cost provider, and I knew I was, and I sold myself that way. You know, if you want a lawn guy, get a lawn guy, but I'm a turf professional, and this is what I cost. So when I went out with marketing, I really needed to hone in on the markets where money was, and that city data was a great free resource, trying to hone those in. Competitor pricing, you know, what do your competitors charge? You know, if I had a company in Nashville, he was charging $7.50 per thousand for lawn applications, and everybody else was in the, you know, 9 to 10 to 10.50 range, and he couldn't figure out why he wasn't making any money. Well, you're not charging enough. You don't have to beat every one of your competitors, especially by that much. You know, if you do a good enough job, hopefully, you know, you can justify a higher price. Now, you can't be too high either, right? So you really have to know what's going on in your particular area. This is one place where it gets really difficult. In some places, you know, when a guy says, well, what do I charge for this? I think the Arborjet side of the business, I think we've got that pretty much figured out. On the college elf side with turf applications and that kind of thing, definitely different markets, you know, require different pricing. So how can we help? What kind of marketing collateral can we help you guys with? We've just rolled out the ArborRx prescription tree fertility and shrub fertility. So we have customized, you know, RX sheets that you see there. You can put your customer name, your check the box, and we can get those supplied to you. We've created email blasts for individual customers to go out to their customers to help you sell our programs, right? Because if you guys don't succeed in selling it, neither do we. And then the Hydrotain Advantage program. I really encourage everyone to take a look at that. If you go to hydrotain.com, you sign up, we'll send you a little care package, Hydrotain hat, lawn side signs that you see there, a magnet for your truck. But we are more than happy to send you stacks of, you know, if you want to send out mailers, we have them made. You know, you don't have to go at this alone. We're more than happy to help you sell to your end user. And I think the Hydrotain Advantage program is something that more people should be a part of. Because again, there's some really, really useful marketing collateral involved with that. All right, so we'll get into reducing customer loss. I think probably number one on this list, and I think it should be, is set customer expectations. And that should be happening the first time you meet with a customer. If you meet with a new potential customer and you walk into their place and you say, you are never going to see another bug on this property again. Well, that's that expectation that they have now. And the first time that they have a bug, guess who's in trouble for that? And guess who's going to have to answer to it? Now, if you don't want to say, yeah, we're going to be here and you're going to have bugs, but you know, there's ways that we need to word some of these things, and getting expectations under control up front, I would say, is one of the most important things you can do for reducing customer loss. Because if they know, yeah, you're going to have some weeds sometimes, but just give me a call and we'll make sure we take care of it. Or, yeah, we were having some breakthrough, but hey, round round 5 is right around the corner. That's exactly why we have round 5, to take care of these things. It goes a long way to set this up right up front. Do what you say you will. That should be, to me at least, just a part of who you are as a person. But a lot of companies, that maybe they're too big, or they just forget, and maybe they don't have a very good system for maintaining what it is that they're supposed to be doing. Maybe they don't use a calendar or email very well. But if you tell a customer you're going to do something, do it. Whatever that is. It doesn't matter. That will go a very, very long way, as particularly when it's out of your way to do it. People really respect that, and that really helps. Back to kind of tying these things together, word of mouth. Right? You go out of your way for a customer because you said you'd do something, and they're going to tell their friends. That's generally how that works. The first time you don't do something that you told them you will, they're going to tell their friends about that too. So you might as well do what you say you will. Reasons to leave, reasons not to leave. Well, let's not give them any reasons to leave, right? And again, it's part of setting our expectations. If those expectations are reasonable and you're maintaining those, they shouldn't have a reason to leave. Now, maybe somebody else came along with a better price. That's always a possibility. But you'd rather a reason to leave come from an external source rather than from yourself. Professionalism. I was joking with someone the other day that, coming from the golf business, we wore khakis and polo shirts. That was our uniform. And to this day, that's the only thing that I've, ever worn at work. Even when if I'm cutting grass at my house, I'm wearing khakis and a polo shirt. I just can't help it. And professionalism, it goes well beyond your dress, but you shouldn't be showing up on properties, unkempt and dirty looking. And even if that means keep an extra shirt in the truck, don't smoke on people's properties. Be a professional. Don't be just a tree guy. Be a professional arborist, or don't be like I said before, you want a lawn guy. There's a lawn guy, but you can make a lot more money being a turf professional. Use the right products for the job, reducing customer loss, right? So I've got these two pictures, the Triage or Arborjet. Well, if the job calls for Triage and instead you use Arborjet, and then you don't have the results that you need, is that customer gonna stay with you or use you again? Probably not, right? So make sure that you're diagnosing everything properly and you're using what you need. As far as that goes, that your Arborjet reps are all here for you, helping with those diagnoses and making the recommendations for which products you should be using. So that part should be pretty easy. Produce better results than your competitors. Like, that is much easier said than done. Much easier said than done. But people don't leave if theirs looks better than their neighbors. At the end of the day, follow up ASAP on customer concerns. Don't let an email or a voicemail linger for days on end. Get back to those customers as soon as you can. They'll appreciate that immensely, and I just really believe in getting ahead of problems. So if you know there's a problem, even if it's something that's just going to be a customer concern, bring that to the forefront. Don't let them tell you about it. You go tell them about the problem and how you're going to fix it. So we move on along to increasing services. Again, if you have a customer base, you've already done the work. You've got a customer base, or maybe you're still growing your customer base. What else can you do to make money from those customers? Now, I started out as at the very, very beginning, I was a lawn care company, and I would do anything for $1 just trying to grow. Eventually, I did drop that, so that goes a little bit against what I'm saying here, and I was just doing turf management. But eventually, I had a customer base, and I saw that several of them, many of them, were using a mosquito control company. Why are they using them? I'm licensed. I can get everything. It's just a fogger. It's a small piece of equipment. Why can't I do that? And so I started adding mosquito control. We added shrub care programs. I wasn't too interested in getting into much more than that. Maybe in time I would have. As you grow, you can even think of it as adding divisions, right? So maybe I don't know anything about hardscaping, but doesn't mean I can't hire a hardscape expert and somebody to sell it and let him handle that, right? This is all about managing the business and becoming profitable. So your tree injection, right? If you're already using Arborjet's system, you have a customer base, people know all about you. Well, are you fertilizing these trees as well? Right? I mean, it doesn't take a very large investment to be set up to do that, right? And conversely, if you're just doing deep root fertilization for trees and shrubs, and that's part of your program. Well, it doesn't take very much to get into tree injection either, right? So when you have this customer base, there's lots of different avenues in this industry to add on, right? These add-ons. That's to me, that was always where the money was, right? Because I had cyclical business, right? I know I'm going to go round 1, round 2, round 3, round 4, round 5, round 6, and I know how many customers I have, and I know exactly how much money I'm going to make from that. What I didn't know is how much I could upsell, right? And I was always looking for that, whether it was, I'm walking a property, maybe I'm out spraying broadleaf weeds and I see a shrub that's a little brown, hey, you've got some drought stress going on, Hydrotain would be a really good option for you here, and I can get this, next week while I'm in the area. I'm still finishing up my rounds. Little things like that can go a really long way to increasing profitability, especially when you can do things together. All right. So mosquito control for me was a no-brainer because it's a small piece of equipment. I could go with it's all low volume tank. So instead of my big tank, I had a small 25-gallon tank. As I was doing treatments on the lawn, on the customers that I could sell mosquito to, I could spray their lawn, turn right around, grab that out of my truck, do a mosquito application, right? So now, not only am I billing more, but I'm not driving a second time. I'm already there anyway. So now I'm just putting extra money for that stop in my pocket. So hopefully everyone is considering all these options, and you'll see all our little asterisks there. I know that most people here, I'm assuming, are Arborjet customers, but look, we can help supply you on the deep root fertilization and the shrub care programs. The Arbor RX program is going to be great for both of those. On the turf care and maintenance side, we have an entire line of liquid fertility under the BioPro brand. everything from, all your NPKs and micronutrients in a number of different ways, and also several soil amendment applications with EnviroPlex and BioMP. So we can help you guys out in a number of these different services. So if you're just a tree injection person, really take a look at your clientele and see what else you can sell them. Like I said, some of these are really low cost investments to get moving in a new direction. So that was increasing services. So decreasing costs. Now this is, to me, a big one, and everybody's going to say, well, yeah, of course, if you decrease costs, then you're more profitable, right? And short term, that is absolutely true. Long term, though, you have to ask yourself, what costs are you decreasing, right? Not all costs are created equal. And what I mean by that, if you say you substitute a high quality fertilizer for a low quality fertilizer, you are going to decrease costs. But you're probably going to be much less effective in what you're trying to do, right? And so is that going to, if it doesn't work as well, now all of a sudden back to don't give anybody a reason to leave, right? Well, before, when you're using high quality fertilizer and everything was green and lush and beautiful, so you cut some cost on that, and now it's not green for as long, or it's not as dark, and the neighbors is. So now we decreased the cost, sure, but now are we losing customers over it, right? So be very careful about which costs we decrease, right? So will quality suffer? Are we comparing apples to apples? Something else to think about. Will this hurt my relationship with my current distributor? I had a customer, and he was a $50,000 a year customer. He bought a lot of product from me, and he decided to make a switch on fertility. We had our own brand of fertility that we made in-house. He decided to switch that, which was his decision. He was trying to decrease cost, and he went from a $50,000 customer to a $25,000 customer basically overnight. Well, on the rest of that is $25,000. Well, he's no longer getting a $50,000 discount on some of these other items. All right, so he thought he was going to save, he was going to go from a 50 to a 25, and he really went from a 50 to maybe a 32 or something like that. At that point, with the customer base that we had, he almost wasn't big enough for us to continue to give him some of the discounts that we had been up until that point. So that is a consideration. Maybe not all distributors work that way, and we were just a small family-owned operation, but that was how we saw it. So will cutting cost here increase cost there? You can use less pre-emergent, but if you have more weeds because of it, and now you're spending more money on post-emerge control, right? That's an example of where cutting costs one place can increase costs elsewhere. Can non-working spend be decreased? There's an awful lot of money that gets spent in running a business that doesn't go to profitability, and that's certainly a place to, especially in the environment that we're in right now. I would expect many companies are pulling back on a lot of that spend right now. and just hunkering down. Hopefully, nobody here is losing business yet. We could see that, but that non-working spend, if it's not making you money, it gets really hard to justify a lot of that. Can I get the job done properly with less? Sometimes that answer is yes, and sometimes that answer is no. That's an analysis that has to be done. I'm just a big believer in always doing the job right. My wife hates it. It means that I spend too much time out in the yard these days, now that I'm no longer in the field, as it were. But I've just finished ripping out everything that the previous homeowner did and redid everything, basically. It just wasn't done right. So if you can get it done properly with less, do it, obviously, right? But make sure that cost isn't actually necessary. If you can get it done with a 100-gallon tank and you think that's the answer, well, don't buy a 250-gallon tank. Save the money, but you have to look long term as well, right? That okay, if 100 is good enough now, is it going to be good enough in 6 months or a year? So that's a big question. And how will this affect future growth? Well, if you drop a sales guy, well, you're going to decrease an awful lot of costs there, right? You're going to decrease an entire salary and benefits and payroll taxes and everything else. But how are you going to grow if you drop him, or her? How's that going to affect the future growth of the company? So, these things aren't. So some of it is cut and dry and black and white, but a lot of these decisions, a lot of these cost analyses, they're really a lot of gray area. Right there, are we comparing apples to apples? How does that? How is that new product gonna? How is that gonna work as well as the old product? Right? It says it's the same thing, but is it going to cause problems with equipment? Or are you going to have clogging issues? So think about all these things when we're trying to decrease the cost of doing business. Increasing effective efficiency. I don't remember who said this, but it's one of my favorite quotes. Efficiency is doing things right. Effectiveness is doing the right things. Right? You can be as efficient as you want. If you're not doing the right thing, it doesn't really matter that much. I would worry about effectiveness first, and then worry that my effectiveness is efficient second. So we've got lots of great application tracking software these days. Lots of accounting software, routing, GPS stuff. If today you can get 12 stops in, and you can purchase whatever X software for $1,000, but now you can get 15 stops in a day, right? Because you figured out a better route or what have you. That's going to pay for itself in time. Right, it's going to allow you to be more effective with what you're doing, and more efficient. So, digitizing I don't know if anybody's sending out paper mail anymore, paper bills and that sort of thing. I certainly didn't, and I pitched it. I pitched it to my customers that I wanted to do a good thing for the planet. I don't want to send out paper. So we're a digital company. I'm going to email you a bill and you can pay online, and I don't need you to send me a check. That really helped me in getting my bills to people. Obviously saved me time, money. There's a lot of clicks on the computer rather than folding bills up and licking stamps. Proper equipment. right? Right here, we've got the quick jet air. Man, that's effectiveness and that's efficiency. Again, I'm really on the turf side of the business, but I think the quick jet air is maybe one of the coolest things that I've really ever seen in this industry. Quick push of the button, and we're pushing product into trees. That beats an awful lot of other ways to do it. Even our own system, just the original, the hand one. The quick jet air is all about effectiveness and efficiency. So you can make a small investment in something like that and completely change your operations. Proper products, right? So we just rolled out with the Triage R10. We're using much less product. We're moving through these trees much quicker, right? It's all about production. If you can get production down to a science, exactly how many you can do in a day. That means you can make X dollars in a day. Well, if something comes along like R10 and now all of a sudden what you can get done in a day increases, by a third or whatever that number might be, well, you're making more money now. And that's what it's all about. And I put increasing knowledge base on here too. Like I said, we're here for you. We want you to call us or text us or whatever it is you need from us to help you. But if you don't have to make that call, if you can walk onto a property and say, yep, that's this problem, here's the solution. It's gonna be a lot quicker and a lot easier, and a lot more effective and efficient doing it that way. But and through Arborjet's website, we've got lots and lots and lots of resources, training materials, videos, insect sheets. Use that stuff. Take time out of your day. Block off an hour every Friday afternoon, whatever it is. Go onto the website and just read and take notes and learn more about whatever trait it is, whatever insect is in your area or whatever it is, so that you can be quicker to diagnose and spend less time trying to figure out the problem and more time solving the problem. So reducing labor costs, I got to assume that's probably your number one cost. Pretty much across the board, that's generally the case. So how can we reduce those costs? Productivity, right? Everything we just talked about in increasing effectiveness and efficiency. With your routing and application tracking software and those kind of things. If the guy has to write down on a piece of paper every single application that he makes, which he should be doing, that's probably not as fast as some of the software that we have today that's got a lot of preloaded stuff that you can click a couple buttons and move on to the next job. That's a big deal, long term. Reducing employee turnover. Every time you fire someone, you have to hire someone. Every time you hire someone, you have to train them, right? So they can't train themselves. So either you're going to train them or you have employees that train them. So if that employee is training them, then that employee's not doing something that makes you money, right? So I know in the golf business there was a saying that always bothered me, and it was in regards to people, and it was work them like a shovel, and when they break, you get a new one. And I heard that a lot from a couple of places I worked, and I didn't work there much longer. And you're gonna have to train somebody new. So treat your people right. Pay them what they should be paid. In the long run, better buy-in, happier employees. They're going to work harder for you. They're going to be more loyal to you. I had an employee that I paid probably 40% more than what he was making elsewhere. And I knew how he worked, and I paid him a lot of money for it, and he never missed a day, ever. His apartment burnt down, and he still came to work the next day, and I had to send him home to go take care of his family and everything else. And it wasn't because he didn't have the time to take off. He was just that guy, and knew that, I did plenty for him, both financially and otherwise, but he was loyal. I didn't have to worry about him going someplace else. So sometimes, increasing a cost here, again, we're talking about reducing cost and how all these things tie together, but sometimes increasing an employee's benefits or salary, that can reduce costs elsewhere, right? On a turnover or anything like that. Shop employee benefit insurance. Shop that every year. I see, I saw so many companies that said, well, here's our benefits and this is what it is. That's a big chunk of money, and you should not, you shouldn't feel bad about shopping that one. Overtime pay versus seasonal workers. When you hire someone and they have benefits and you pay payroll taxes, that can get awfully expensive. So do that analysis. Is it overtime pay for the people you have, or do you want to get a laborer for a day or two to pick up some slack? And do you have the work that you just need a body for, or do you need a specialized worker? Right? If you need the specialized worker, well, I imagine we're going to be paying overtime pay, but these analyses on what things cost. I've just seen so many companies that don't do them, and this is just should be a regular part of doing business. And lastly, the use of plant growth regulators. Every company that's doing just about any service should be using PGRs. You'll see we have shortstop 2SC, that is paclobutrazol. That is going to reduce top growth, reduce shoots, right? But the law of thermodynamics, right, says energy can either be created nor destroyed. So that the plant's going to use it's still going to make photosynthesis. It still has water, nutrients. It's going to put that growth somewhere else. So you're going to have a healthier plant because of it. But you're also not going to be trimming it nearly as much. So that labor can go do something else that's more efficient. And there's several growth regulators on the market. I happen to think paclobutrazol is just about the best of all of them. Unless we're specifically talking about turf, then I might change my mind. But Paclo is a really good one, and if you're not using them, I would really suggest playing around with some of these things.
Eric, before we head over to the next slide, there's a good question relating to labor and labor costs about advice on trying to recruit talent in the chemical lawn care industry. Any places that you used to use, websites, periodicals, any type of resource that you used? Someone's looking for a person with field strength and knowledge and willingness. So any advice for him?
I guess are we talking about tree or turf, or right? Because that kind of matters. But like for me, there's a website called turfnet.com that has a tremendous classified ad section, and they have a very, very big user base. I know several people that have gone that route and got good people out of it. It seems to be the type of people that are on there looking for jobs are also the kind of people that are in the industry to be in the industry, not, bodies that are just looking for a job. So if we're talking about turf, I think that's a really good spot. And even, I've heard good things about Monster and what's the other one?
Indeed.
Yes. Yep.
And
It seems like more and more Indeed is becoming bigger and bigger. And again, you're generally not getting the warm body, right? You're getting somebody that cares about the industry, that wants to be in the industry, not somebody that just needs a job, right? You're tending to get people that are looking for careers, in my opinion, at least.
those are all great. And then, Mike, just from my personal experience, there's a website called hirehorticulture.com that is very similar to TurfNet, but covers, isn't so specific to turf. So if there's trees or gardeners that you're looking for, people will post resumes on there as well, but also it's a good place to post a job request, so you're looking for other people.
Hope that helped. I'm not sure if it did, but hope that helps. The last slide is really just increasing margins, right? Charge what you're worth. I mentioned that company earlier. I didn't even think about this slide here, but he was using high-end stuff, using quality products. His properties look great, and he was charging 20% less than the rest of the market. So charge what you're worth, and to do that, you need to understand the market that you're in. And I think enacting kind of everything that we've talked about, that will inherently increase margins. And lastly, when all else fails, and look, there's nothing wrong with it, but buy somebody else if you've got the money. if that's that's definitely a way to grow and a way to get bigger. And sometimes there's a stigma, especially from smaller companies that have it in their head that they want to grow to become a big company. There's nothing wrong with buying another company. The guy who bought my company was smaller than me, by 50% smaller than me probably. So by purchasing my company, he grew twofold. And we had a very nice arrangement when that happened. So he was able to float those payments over the course of 6 months or so, and it worked out very well for him. And I still know him today, and he's doing very, very well now with that acquisition. When he purchased me, he got into some areas of town that he wasn't in before, and kept growing. And because I had really focused on some high dollar areas, the growth in those areas meant a lot more than the growth in the areas he was in. But it all started with him just purchasing my business. So don't ever think that that's not an option. They do loans for this kind of thing if you don't have the cash. So purchasing competitors. And I think that wraps it up, guys. We hit just about on an hour, which is what I was shooting for. So field support, I'm in the east. My counterpart Rebecca's in the west on the commercial side of the business. If anybody wants to talk about Hydrotane and the BioPro fertility line, we have all these great RTMs on the Arborjet side of the business. Just a wealth of knowledge here, guys. So please call us. Whatever we can do to help you, we want to do. Not just that we will. We want to do that. So thank you.
Right. Thank you, Eric. Great presentation. Lot of good points made there. stuff. All right, so